It's starting.
All right, good evening. I'd like to call the April 9th, 2020 meeting of the Greenville City Council to order. I'm Mayor P.J. Connolly, and I'll be moderating tonight's meeting. First, I'd like to call on Councilmember Meyerhofer, who'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Due to risks to the public during the state of North Carolina and city of Greenville states of emergency, Council at its March 23rd, 2020 meeting adopted a rule allowing council members to participate and vote by electronic means, and such rule is in effect indefinitely. In addition, I'd like to make the following motion. I move that council adopt the following rule, and such rule is in effect indefinitely. If a meeting is held solely by electronic means, persons desiring to speak during public comment period or during a public hearing may do so by following the directions to participate virtually, which are set forth on the city's website under City Council Meetings link.
All right.
I'll second that. This is Rick Smiley.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Meyerhofer, second by Councilmember Smiley. Now I'm going to defer to the city clerk, Valerie, that will take the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Here.
Do you vote affirmative for the motion?
I'm sorry, aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
This is Councilmember Smiley. I vote aye.
Councilmember Litchfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer?
I made the motion. I vote aye. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Now I would like to move on to the invocation. I'd like to call on Councilmember Daniels to provide the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'd like to call on Bishop Rosie O'Neill.
Okay, let's take this moment in prayer and thank you for this opportunity. May the Lord bless you all. Father, we pray right now that you would touch this group of leaders. Father, we know according to your word that you anoint us for others, but you are our saving strength. I pray for their strength, oh God. I pray for their clarity in the midst of all that goes on, that they would see you as a shelter. And then, Lord, from that safe place, emotionally, physically, intellectually, God, that they would be able to make the kind of choices that are beyond any of our past, that are beyond any preconceived ideas. Lord, let their hearts and their skills be brought to this moment, brought to bear on our city, on our community. God, help them to know that what they do does make a difference, and that, Lord, you're using them to do it. So I pray, God, for their strength. I pray for their meeting to flow smoothly. Lord, I pray that you give them glimpses of the victories that their diligence is creating. And I give you praise for it. In Jesus' name, bless their meeting. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
You all have a wonderful meeting.
You too. Thank you, Bishop O'Neill.
Thank you, Bishop.
You all are most welcome. We appreciate you guys.
Happy
Thank
Easter to you.
To you as well.
Thank you. All right, now if you would join me by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Glad
of the United States of America
and to his republic,
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice for all.
All right. Now I'd like to call on Madam Clerk. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Connolly?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Here.
Councilmember Daniels?
Present.
Councilmember Bell?
Here.
Councilmember Smiley?
This is Councilmember Smiley. I'm present.
Councilmember Litchfield?
Present.
Councilmember Meyerhofer?
I am here.
Mayor Connolly, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Now we will move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Madam Manager, any recommended changes?
No, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to the public comment period. The public comment period is a period reserved for comments by the public. Items that were or scheduled to be the subject of a public hearing conducted at this meeting or another meeting during the same week shall not be discussed. A total of 30 minutes is allocated, with each individual being allowed no more than 3 minutes. Individuals who registered with the city clerk will speak to what are registered until the allotted 30 minutes expires. If time remains after all persons who have registered have spoken, individuals who did not register will have an opportunity to speak until the allotted 30 minutes expires. Before we move on, we did make a few changes based off of us holding this virtual meeting. So I just want to make a couple comments. Those that wish to address the City Council during either the public comment period or the public hearing should call the City Clerk at 252-329-4420. Register by the day before the meeting at 5 p.m. Registered participants will be given an access code to speak at the meeting via Zoom, a remote conference service. Callers will be held in queue and asked to mute their phones or speakers until they are called on to speak. Speakers will be called in the order that they are registered. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes and not to cover topics that are subjects of public hearings that week. If a person participates remotely, willfully disrupts the council, then upon direction by the mayor, such person may be removed from electronic participation, or his or her email may not be read. The public may also email their comments along with their name, address, and topic to publicinput@greenvillenc.gov up to and during the meeting. Messages must be labeled either public comment or public hearing in the subject line. If time remains during those designated periods, the comments will be read by the city clerk into record after all registered speakers have addressed the city council. Comments read by the city clerk are subject to the time limits set by the public comment period and public hearing procedures. Madam Clerk, our first speaker.
Mayor Connolly, we have one registered speaker, Mr. Xavier Goins. Mr. Goins, you can begin speaking. Your timer starts now. You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak. Good evening, members of the council, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to address the council on some issues that we've been having this week, something that I'm not sure many of the public even knew about the coronavirus. Well, earlier this week, a friend of mine was told by her job to get tested. It was recommended that she get tested because 2 people on her job was diagnosed tested positive for the coronavirus. So she followed all proper procedures, called the COVID-19 hotline, they directed her to public health. She did all that, and public health directed her to call urgent care. Well, when she called urgent care, they told her it would be $100 to be seen, $52 to be for the test if you want it back in 8 to 10 days. Also, the test, if you want it back in 2 to 3 days, it would be $375. So I want to address the council. I want to ask you guys, is this coronavirus a big issue? Now, I know that hundreds of thousands of people have already died from the virus, but I want to ask you again, is it a big issue? Because it seems to me that people, not everybody in the community, but it seems that they're more focused on making money than eradicating and taking every measure necessary to get rid of the virus. So I want us to just think about that as I'm moving on. Since we live in a world that deals with cost, let's measure the cost on a scale. On one side, we put the $375 test. On the other side, let's put the cost of a funeral, which is $7,000 to $12,000. Let's put the cost of businesses shutting down, and let's put the cost of people not being able to say goodbye to their loved ones. So when we weigh all those costs against what could happen if we're not tested, we will see that there's no balance, that getting that $375 is not worth what we really lose. Getting back to the story, we found out that all the urgent cares, the most of the ones that we call, are privately owned, which I'm pretty sure many people do not know that. So again, she was told she had to pay $100 and then whichever fee for the test, depending on how quick that she wanted the results back. Now, to me, this seems really outrageous, how that we should be more concerned with stopping the spread of the virus. And now is not the time for us to where we should be biased on issues about who's getting seen or those that can afford to take the test. One urgent care told me that they have to pay for the test. The urgent care has to pay for the test out of their pocket. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Has it been? Okay. So they told me that they have to pay for the test out of their own pocket. So they can't just give the test out for free. So my question is, what about the poor? What about those who can't afford to take the test? So now is the time that we should be coming together, especially the president released $2 trillion stimulus package. And I understand that people need the money to get back because they're out of work. But what good is the money if they're not allowed to spend it? And another thing they say is they can't test everyone who's able to be tested. And I understand that. But they can't test everybody out of fear, but I believe that those that have been directly exposed and in contact with someone who has the virus, that they should be prioritized with getting tested. The people of the urgent care told me that my friend that they could only test them if they had the symptoms. Well, my friend, like me and so many others, have bronchitis or asthma. As we already know, the COVID-19 virus mimics some of those upper respiratory symptoms. So I asked the urgent care provider, how would you be able to distinguish between a person who has symptoms of bronchitis or COVID-19? She says that they have people at the urgent care that can do that. But I said, my point is these people still have to be able to get seen. So I want you to just imagine if my friend had decided that I tried to do the best that I could, the responsible thing, and get tested, but no office would work with me. I wasn't able to get tested because I couldn't afford it. This person works at a business that's still open. She works as a cook in a restaurant that's still open. She interacts with consumers and customers. So imagine how quickly that virus would spread if she was not tested and she didn't know. Now, she, like
Mr.
everybody else.
Barnes,
Yes, ma'am.
your time is up.
Okay. Thank you guys for hearing me out today. I understand that you guys may not be able to do anything, but I just wanted to voice this concern because a lot of people didn't know that, and I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Goins. I appreciate it, and we will. I'll be sure to pass on that information to the public health director and some of the other medical professionals I can contact on a regular basis.
Thank you, Mr. Gowan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
I'm just going to check the public input in the box one more time. And Mr. Mayor, we have no more speakers for public comment.
All right. Seeing that we don't have any other speakers, I'll close the public comment period and we'll move on to appointments. Madam Clerk?
Okay, let's see. So, Environmental Advisory Commission, Councilmember Brian Meyerhofer.
This is Brian. I will continue that right now. Thank you.
Okay. Historic Preservation Commission, Councilmember Daniels.
I'd like to appoint Mr. Jake Hochard.
Okay, motion was made by Councilmember Daniels. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Daniels, second by Mayor Pro Tem Glover. And all those in favor say aye when you are called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Councilmember Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
6-0 in favor.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Hochard.
Okay. Next, we have the Human Relations Council, Mayor Pro Tem Rose Glover.
I would like to appoint Mr. Daquan Bunn.
I think that's for your youth council appointment.
Oh, my youth council, okay. All right,
Would you like to continue these?
yes.
Okay. Police Community Relations Committee, Councilmember Bell.
This is Will. I will continue that appointment.
Okay. Youth Council, Mayor Pro Tem Rose Glover.
I'd like to appoint DeQuan Bonds.
This is Will. I will second that nomination for appointment.
All right, so motion was made by
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover, second by Councilmember Bell. All right.
Yes.
All right. All those in favor say aye when the city clerk calls your name, and opposed say nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Bunn.
Okay, and Mayor, that concludes the appointments.
All right. And before we move on to the agenda, Mr. Attorney McGirt had reminded me we need to have an approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the tonight's agenda?
This is Councilmember Bell. So moved.
Second, Councilmember Daniels.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Bell, second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye, and those opposed say no when called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to tonight's consent agenda. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The items on the consent agenda include the following: minutes from the January 2020 City Council planning session and the February 9th, 2020 City Council workshop. Approval of an application for the North Carolina Recreational Trails Program Grant. Reports on bids and contracts awarded, and various tax refunds greater than $100. That's the consent agenda, Mayor.
All right.
This is Councilmember Bell. Move to approve the consent agenda.
This is Councilmember Meyerhofer. I actually have a question on the consent agenda, please. Or item on the consent agenda, item 3 on the consent agenda.
You'd like to pull item number 3 on the consent agenda?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to, Councilmember Bell, would you like to amend your motion to item number 3?
This is Councilmember Bell. So moved.
Daniels, second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Bell, second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay when called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Councilmember Smiley.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Aye.
6-0 in favor, Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 3. Madam Manager.
Item number 3 is the approval of an application for the North Carolina Recreational Trails Program Grant. Mr. Meyerhofer.
My question is really brief. I just noticed in the agenda here it says that the application is a 2-stage process with a pre-application due by April 8, 2020, which is yesterday. So I just wanted to see that we've already done that. We've already started the process.
We We have already started the process for the grant. The North Carolina Recreational Trails Program acknowledged the difficulty communities were having with meetings, so they told us that we could go ahead and submit the application and follow up with this action this evening.
Okay, so we didn't miss a deadline already.
We did not.
Okay. All set. Thank you.
Would you like to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve item 3 on the consent agenda.
This is Councilmember Bell, second.
All right, motion's been made by Councilmember Meyerhofer, second by Councilmember Bell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And all those opposed say nay after called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley, Councilmember Smiley,
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Okay, Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right, that sounds good. We'll move on now to new business, the public hearing. Madam Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. We have one public hearing this evening. It's a public hearing for the 2021 Annual Action Plan for the Walk-Around and Home Programs. And Sylvia Brown will provide that presentation. The Mayor will read the statement about the public hearing, Ms. Brown, and then we'll turn it over to you.
All right. This is the policy of public hearings adopted by the City Council. The petitioner or a representative of the petitioner and a leader of those in opposition will each have 10 minutes. Persons following them will have up to 3 minutes each, with a total for each side no more than 30 minutes. Additionally, I want to remind those in attendance to extend the courtesy to persons speaking during the public hearing and to City Council during discussions. Comments made by members of the public are to occur only during the public hearing as allowed by the mayor in accordance with the adopted policy of the City Council. There should be no interruptions of speakers or council members, including expressions of support or disagreements, verbally or by applause, as this is distracting and makes discussions difficult. We ask for your cooperation. Ms. Brown?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. Thank you so much. So tonight, I'm going to Is everybody seeing the PowerPoint correctly?
Not yet.
You have to share the screen.
Yes, ma'am, I did. Let me try it again. Okay. I gotta hit all the buttons.
That's got it.
There we go.
Got it.
Yeah, I hit all the buttons. I hit one button and missed the second one.
There we go. Perfect.
So good evening to everyone. Tonight I just want to review and go through the 2020-2021 draft annual action plan for the Housing Division. And the purpose of this plan tonight is to go over our funding and projects that are related to community development that the Housing Division expects to take on during the 2020-21 funding year. There are 3 plans that the Housing Division is responsible for reporting to HUD about. The Consolidated Plan, which is our 5-year funding plan. The Annual Action Plan for this year is year 3 of that 5-year Consolidated Plan. And finally, our CAPER, which is the report that we submit to HUD to let them know how we expended the funds during the annual action year, during the annual year. As an overview, these are some of the things that the Housing Division takes on, helping Greenville to continue to have affordable housing, down payment assistance to qualified buyers within our community, our owner-occupied rehabilitation program, which is very active, various support grants, economic empowerment, as well as neighborhood revitalization. Our goals for the 2020-2021 funding year come from the 5-year consolidated plan. That's our overall guide and umbrella for each year of that plan. And for 2021, The number one is the affordable housing preservation and development, and this might include our rehabs, our CHODO projects, and CHODO stands for Community Housing Development Organizations, the Lincoln Park project, as well as creation, preservation of additional affordable housing for Greenville. Number two, reduction of slum and blight would also include possibly rehabs as well as acquisition and demolition of properties that may be in bad condition. Number three, we'll continue to address homelessness by using public service funds that often go to Community Crossroads Center and possibly public facility activities. Number four, improvements to public facilities and infrastructure. And we see that and expect opportunities to arise in the Lincoln Park area. Number five, expansion of available public services. And again, this goes back to our subrecipient program. We encourage new nonprofits and new activities each year, and we continue to reach out to nonprofits in our neighborhood and in our community as we try to endeavor to help fund their programs. The 2020-21 allocations, we anticipate $977,960 in our CDBG program, $545,511 for home investment partnership, and $328,695 for a local match, which will come from general fund, which gives us this total of just over $1.8 million. Available resources in the annual allocation column, that is what the funding that we expect, the new funding in July of this year. Our program income for CDBG, we're expecting about $30,000, and that funding, that income comes from our rehabs. Some of our homeowners may have payments depending on their annual income and based on how our program is set up. For home, that $575,000 we expect to come from the sale of the 4 new affordable homes in the Lincoln Park community. And hopefully all of you have taken a ride down Bancroft and Fleming and seen where that area is starting to really develop and come to life. Our prior year resources, these numbers will likely change as we continue to expand funds that we have, and so those numbers are kind of fluid and will move often. Programs and funding. For CDBG, we have our program admin, and as you can see, rehabilitation, our owner-occupied housing rehabilitation takes up the majority of that funding. That's a very active program for us. Our public facilities, public services, as well as acquisition and clearance and demolition for a total of $1.8 million in CDBG. And home, we also utilize our program admin as well as rehabilitation, owner-occupied rehabilitation, the CHODO reserve funds that are required by HUD, as well as our down payment assistance program. And then the new construction, the $1.8 million is the Lincoln Park area. We also think that there may be some opportunities to subsidize rental property and possible tax credit opportunities. This is a chart showing our public service funding. And this funding has already gone to the Affordable Housing Loan Committee. They took up this matter in their February and March meetings, where they heard presentations from all of the nonprofits and gave approval. And now these funds are coming to the council, and they will obviously be a part of our annual action plan as we request HUD for approval of all of this funding. So the total for our public service funding is $100,000. Our timeline, the public comment period began March the 9th of this year. The public meeting for March the 16th, we were not able to hold that meeting because of COVID-19. the facility was shut down. We were planning to have it at Carver Library, and unfortunately, that was closed. At the public meeting on March the 30th was also a virtual meeting via Zoom. The public meeting for the Affordable Housing Loan Committee on April the 8th was also held, and that was virtual via Zoom. And tonight, the public hearing following the public comment period ends today. And so staff will be checking, I'll probably likely check my emails tomorrow to see if I received any comments or public comments, and include those in the final version of our annual action plan. And we expect to submit to HUD on or before April 30th. So asking the public, for those of them that are watching or interested in participating in this process, to contact staff today, tonight, this evening, at the number that 329-4481, and they can email me, sbrown@greenvillenc.gov, with any comments or questions about our draft annual action plan. And we want Greenville to know that we look forward to hearing from them.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Ms. Brown? Councilmember Daniels has a question.
Yes. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
The funding that has already been distributed and decisions that were made prior to COVID-19, if agencies need additional funding, that is available?
I'm not sure if are you asking if we
are there any additional funding should the people that we've provided funding to need additional funding in the coming months this fiscal year?
If you're asking about, I guess our HUD has released or has let various cities and counties know, states know that they do have COVID-19 funding coming to us. Right now, we don't know exactly how that funding will be expended. We're waiting to hear from HUD within the next few weeks as to how that funding can be used. And I'm not sure if that was exactly your question.
No, I'm thinking more of our current budget. Oh. Ooh. Can you see? Okay, you disappeared for a minute. I'm sorry. The current budget, is there additional funding should the agencies that we've provided funding to request it? IGCC and places like that.
At this time, I'm not sure if there is or isn't. Or I don't know if you're talking about, this is the public service funding right here,
right.
What has already been approved through the Affordable Housing Loan Committee.
So is there like a reserve funding? There are no additional fundings? I thought we had about $50,000.
Yes, ma'am. Here on this diagram, you can see that 150 was budgeted. The funding that was approved is 100. That additional 50,000, we have it set aside for possible financial literacy classes, homebuyer ownership classes, and etc. So it is possible, yes, ma'am, that some of the nonprofits, maybe they need additional funding, or nonprofits who were not a part of that process, it is possible that there would be additional funding available for them to utilize.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Any other questions for Ms. Brown?
Okay, staff recommends.
Good.
Staff recommends approval of this 2020-21 annual action plan for our CDBG and home programs to be submitted to HUD, and authorization for the mayor and or city manager to sign any necessary documentation.
All right.
I move we approve. Councilmember Daniel.
We're going through the public hearing.
Oh, okay. I'll wait then.
All right. The public hearing is now open. Those who speak on behalf of the applicant may come forward. Please state your name for the record. First person has 10 minutes. All others have 3 minutes.
Mayor Connolly, we did not receive any speakers. We didn't get any registration from speakers, but I will check to see the inbox to see if there were any that have emailed since the meeting has started.
Okay.
Okay. Mayor Connolly, we do not have any comments.
Okay. All right. And from a formality standpoint, those in opposition to the applicant may come forward. Please state your name for the record. First person has 10 minutes. All others have 3 minutes.
And again, Mayor Connolly, we did not receive any registrations from anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the hearing.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. The public hearing is now closed. Open for board discussion. Councilmember Daniels.
I move to approve.
Councilman Smiley, second.
All right.
I still see the staff recommendations and everything. Can we get back to the people?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Motion has been made by Councilmember Daniels, second by Councilmember Smiley. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. When called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Litchfield, aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to other items of business. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 7 is a discussion of the financial impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the fiscal year 2019-2021 budget. I wanted to provide just a quick comment. Michael will review what that impact of COVID-19 has been. As we all know, the last month has been unprecedented in Greenville, in North Carolina, and across the country, and frankly, across the world. Our city has continued to provide our core city services, including fire, police, solid waste collection, street and stormwater maintenance, and transit. We've done all the work that we need to do. But while those services continue, there has been a significant financial impact. And Michael will spend some time reviewing the impact on the knowns right now. And unfortunately, we don't have lots of answers as it relates to how long this shutdown will continue. But with that, I'll turn it over to Michael.
Hey, good evening. Does everyone see City Hall?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, COVID-19, as we all know, is projected to have both an economic and operational impact on the city. For the current fiscal year, we are projecting the months of March through June to be significantly impacted, with the impact also crossing over into fiscal year 2021. The impact of the pandemic, it will start off as an economic issue, as we see a pretty sizable reduction in our general fund revenues that are most closely tied to the economy and personal activities. And then it will quickly transition into an operational issue, so that we have to start looking at making adjustments to our budget in order to cover the projected reduction in revenue. So tonight's discussion will consist of basically 2 parts. First of all, an economic focus, the projected reduction in revenues, and then second, an operational focus, the adjustments to offset the reductions in revenue. First of all, the reductions in revenue. The projected revenue reductions were developed around a few key parameters or assumptions. The first of all being that I would like to think that we've been kind of aggressive in projecting the impact to our operating revenue. However, it is kind of hard to tell because there is a significant amount of uncertainty related to various variables that we quite frankly, as Ann just stated, are outside the control or not even knowledge of our staff. And plus, we have absolutely no historical data from which to base a more reliable projection. All I know is that in times of great uncertainty, and I would dare say that this is a time of great uncertainty, it's probably better to overestimate a shortfall than to underestimate a shortfall. To kind of use the baseball analogy that we've been using around the office, it's like the playing back analogy. It's a lot easier to move forward to the ball than it is to move backwards and the ball gets over your head. We want to be able to keep this out in front of us. So with that said, the mindset is in which we're moving forward is to be kind of aggressive in our projections. Now, with that being said, you can see the following chart there, and you've seen this many times. This is the breakdown of our general fund revenues for 2020. And as you may recall, there's about 6 line items that make up approximately 85% of our general fund revenue, with the largest being property tax, which makes up 41%. However, the second largest revenue source is sales tax, which is budgeted at approximately $20.4 million this year. Makes up 24% of our total general fund budget. Now, at this past year's planning session in January, you may remember me talking about how highly dependent we are on this revenue stream, and that sales tax are very vulnerable to in relation to the economy, especially in a time of an economic downturn or economic uncertainty. Unfortunately, only 3 months later, and this seems to be the situation that we're currently in, at least it seems in the short term. But we should also note that sales tax isn't the only vulnerable short-term revenue during at this time. We also have rescue transports, recreation and parks fees. We have investment revenue and a host of other fees that seem to increase or decrease as activity in our community increases or decreases. So based off the parameters that we discussed earlier, we are projecting about a $4.5 million reduction in revenues from budget between now and the end of the fiscal year. The largest reductions in those revenues are projected in the areas of sales tax and recreation fees. These 2 line items total a projected reduction of approximately $3.5 million from budget, which is approximately 81% of the total projected. So I'd like to spend a few minutes just kind of going over each one of these 2 larger categories, sales tax and recreation fees. First of all, sales tax. We have seen an incredible increase in sales tax over the last 5 years, going from approximately $15 million in 2014 to almost $21 million in 2019. That is an increase of over 40% over the 5-year period. Much of the new spending that we have embedded in our budget over the last 5 years can be attributed to this large percentage increase in sales tax. Now, for the current fiscal year, we have conservatively set a budget of approximately $20.4 million. This is actually about $300,000, believe it or not, less than the actual collections we had for 2019, again, to stay in the spirit of being conservative in our budget estimations. On average, we are budgeting approximately $1.7 million a month in sales tax revenues. So far through January, between July and January, the city has collected approximately $12.4 million in sales tax revenues, which are up about 4%. Now, February are projected to be less than budget, but that is pretty typical for this time of the year. Now, it is important to know that February is projected. We do not actually receive, we won't actually receive the February distributions from the Department of Revenue to around April 12th. The actual distributions in sales tax usually lag about a month and a half behind. So for March through June, we are projecting just about a 50% reduction in sales tax for the remainder of the fiscal year. Now, I would love to be able to say that that was an estimate that was made with some elaborate scientific formula, but that would be a lie. Hopefully, it is a conservative estimate that is based on a baseline that can either be adjusted up or down as we receive more information for actual distributions between now and the remainder of the fiscal year. In March, in early March, around mid-March, the North Carolina League of Municipalities did provide cities and towns with a projection that was looking at about a 20% reduction in fourth quarter sales tax revenues across the state due to COVID-19. But that estimate that the league put out was established prior to the statewide emergency proclamation, before that went into effect, and then before various other local proclamations went into effect. So given these additional measures, we decided to more than double that projected impact. But honestly, guys, the real message is this. It really doesn't matter what percentage reduction we put in there. The most important thing to remember is that we will learn a lot about the impact of this based off of March's actual sales tax distributions, and we will adjust our projections accordingly based off this information. For the fiscal year, we will be projecting under this scenario approximately $17.3 million in actual sales tax revenues, which will be about $3 million less than budget. Now, with concerns to recreation fees, our year-to-date revenues stand at about $700,000, and this is actually net of a considerable amount of refunds that we have started to process over the last couple of weeks for deposits made on spring activities and programs that have since been canceled. Now, for the purpose of this financial analysis, we are not projecting any additional receipts for the department for the remainder of this fiscal year. This includes an assumption, and this is a financial assumption, that all spring activities such as soccer and baseball will be canceled, and that all summer programs will be canceled as well. But I do want to point out that all programming for both the spring and summer has not been canceled. We have not made an official decision to cancel programming for all the spring and all of the summer. We are, though, quickly approaching a point where we will be having to make a decision related to the rest of the spring and the summer, whether we cancel those programs or we scale those programs back. But again, for the purpose of this worst-case financial scenario analysis, we are making the assumption that the programming would be canceled and that any budgeted revenue related to such programming would not be realized. With that being said, that based on the budget, the department would end the fiscal year approximately $500,000 below budget. So in summary, our pre-COVID-19 budget for the year was balanced. Revenue, expenses, and fund balance appropriations used to fund one-time projects and the allocation of excess fund balance. Based off the impact of COVID-19 and this analysis, we would be projecting a reduction in revenue of approximately $4.5 million. And then all things held constant, that would translate into our general fund being out of balance by that same amount. So that is the economic focus with regards to projected reductions in revenue. Now we will change gears and focus more on the operational impact and propose adjustments to offset any reduction in revenue. Now, the budget adjustments that we will be discussing were established with a few key expectations in mind. First of all, any type of adjustment that is made to the budget will translate into an impact on operations. Our focus as staff has been to make adjustments to the budget that would minimize the impact on the city's core public service areas and the delivery of those services Ann had stated. Our focus has also been to continue to working on projects that are already in place, that have already been started, and projects for which our resources have already been encumbered. This would include our current FIP projects, Sycamore Hill, the beach volleyball project, and Town Creek Culvert, just to name a few. A second expectation is that there will be multiple rounds of adjustments needed as more information becomes available and more data is collected. Now, the current this analysis also includes not only just adjustments to the current fiscal year 2020 budget, but would also include adjustments to next fiscal year's budget. And we will talk a little bit more about next fiscal year here in a second. Now, the budget adjustments were also made with the expectations that it is always better to be able to give back in the future than to take back. And what this means that is budget freezes, redirections, and any other tough budget decisions that may be necessary in the short term keep us from having to make even tougher decisions in the long term. The reality is that any actual reductions in revenue that are less than what we project, the operational adjustment can be either reversed, adjusted accordingly, or be applied to offset projected reductions for next fiscal year due to COVID-19. And then finally, we have to be transparent that this is a financial analysis. as the city's number one priority always has been and always will be the safety and security of our community. However, in addition to that, from a financial perspective, one of our top priorities is maintaining the integrity of all of our fiscal policies and making sound financial decisions. So with that said, the following chart is a summary of the adjustments that we've identified to cover the projected $4.5 million reduction in operating revenues over the remainder of the fiscal year. We are projecting that the budget restrictions that we put in place in mid-March will free up approximately $1.4 million in the budget over the remainder of the fiscal year, and we will talk about those steps here in a few minutes. We are also looking at holding the third and fourth quarter transfer to the health insurance fund. Over the last couple of years, as we've discussed, we have seen a pretty sizable reduction in our health insurance actual claims, which has allowed us to build up our health funds. And we are seeing that experience continue through the first half of this fiscal year, which will allow us to free up current funding to use to offset the budget reduction. Now, this is clearly a good position to be in, but we should not take this as an indication of the future, given the inflationary type of increases that the healthcare industry continues to see across the country on an annual basis, especially considering the atmosphere that we are currently in. And then finally, we are looking at redirecting about $600,000 set aside for future capital projects within capital reserve. This would include NCDOT projects that, even based off NCDOT's own financial difficulties, are projected not to begin until the next 3 to 5 fiscal years, so a little bit down the road. So, together, the above adjustments, these adjustments, are looking at achieving 4 of our primary goals. Together, the adjustments look at goal number 1, to cover the projected reduction in our 2020 revenues. Goal 2, to minimize the impact on the city's core public services. 3, to minimize the impact on short-term projects that are already encumbered. And goal number 4, which is probably the most important thing we'll say here tonight, to keep the ball in front of us so that we're able to adjust our operations accordingly once more information becomes available. Now, I would like to discuss a little bit more in detail the budget restrictions that were quickly put in place around mid-March once the reality set in that this pandemic was going to cause a sizable impact on our general fund revenues. And that reality set in on about a Monday morning, real early in the morning, I must say. First and foremost, the budget restrictions have not and will not impact the delivery of the city's core public services. Our job is to run a city and protect the well-being of our community. That is what we do, and that's what we will continue to do. This includes the police, fire rescue, public works, including sanitation services and the engineering services. We are also continuing to operate financial services at a high level so that we can ensure that our bills are paid and that our employees are paid. However, after that, all other city functions have been evaluated, and those services have been identified as either essential or non-essential, and employee hours have been adjusted accordingly. And met with each department head several weeks ago, and we evaluated each function within each department and established a work plan for each area that we are currently deploying on a daily basis. Several budgetary freezes were also implemented during the middle of the month, consisting of a hiring freeze for non-public safety positions, a spending freeze for non-essential services, and a freeze on the encumbrance of new contracts unless it's deemed essential for the delivery of essential public services. And finally, all recurring pay-as-you-go projects have been prioritized for potential freeze moving forward. And this is more in relation to moving forward into the next fiscal year. As stated, our first priority and most important priority is to not impact current projects that have been started or encumbered. However, moving forward, we are evaluating which FIP projects, vehicle purchases, or other capital projects can be delayed, and that's a very important word here, delayed, until we get a better grip on the true magnitude of the situation that we are dealing with. So, in summary, With concerns to the projected reduction in revenue, we have attempted to be aggressive with the mindset that it's better to overestimate a shortfall than to underestimate one, specifically in a time like this of significant uncertainty. And with concerns to budget adjustments, we have attempted to protect our core services, maintain our fiscal policies, and put ourselves in a place where we can adjust our operations accordingly as additional information and data becomes available. And I can't overstate how important that is, that our ability to be able to react quickly and to adjust our operations based off the latest information that comes about. We are looking at, as part of this analysis, a $4.4 million reduction in revenues as compared to budget, and $4.4 million in operational adjustments to offset those reductions, thereby maintaining a balanced budget. And finally, it's worth noting that the projected impact for 2020 will become much more clear when March 2020 sales tax revenues are released by the Department of Revenue around May 10th. So you're probably wondering, what about 2021? Well, clearly the projected shortfall that we just reviewed was not for 2021, it was for next fiscal year. However, there will be an impact on 2021, and in the spirit of taking a conservative approach to the city's budget, as you know that I like to do, we are preliminarily projecting that the overall impact will be very similar to that of the current fiscal year. I would like to think that we are in a pretty good place in regards to next year's budget, given where we were in the budgeting process in early March. We had already established a base budget for next year that we had begun even having discussions with each of you individually related to our budget position. And the plan is to take that base budget and to adjust it for any projected impact of COVID-19. Again, the impact will become much more clear as we get into the months of March or April, and sales tax distributions are made from the Department of Revenue, and we continue to monitor the bending of that curve. But in some form or fashion, it is certain that in the first and second quarter of next fiscal year, we will still be dealing with the rebound of our sales tax dollars. That's the best case scenario. I'm estimating that it will take at least the first half of fiscal year to fully rebound. Again, that's best case. In regards to property tax, we will likely be looking at a reduction in our property tax collection rate. Historically, we have maintained a collection rate here in Greenville and Pitt County of greater than 99%. That's 99%, which is absolutely awesome. But with that said, there's only one way for that really to go, and that is down. And to put it in perspective, for every 1% reduction in sales tax collections, that translates into about a $350,000 reduction in our revenue. We do anticipate the first quarter of recreation fees to be down, given that the summer programs operate in both the current and next fiscal year. And finally, we are looking at EMS collections being down, at least again in the first quarter. Our current EMS call volume has reduced significantly since we've implemented the proclamation. And based off the billing and collection cycles, the impact of the reduction in the call volumes will more than likely have an impact on next year's cash flow, not this current year's cash flow. And then finally, I know it's kind of hard for us to think about this, but I think it's got to be mentioned. The COVID-19 impact on next year's budget will be significantly impacted on whether there's a seasonal relapse. Many out there believe that it's not a question of if, but it's when. The degree of that relapse, the impact it will have on our local economy, and the degree that we attempt to build that into the budget. Now, staff is currently working on various budget scenarios related to COVID-19 for next fiscal year. As stated, actual sales tax revenues for March through May will be very influential in modeling the impact for 2021. And again, one of our primary concerns for next year will be the property tax collection rate. And no, finally, we have not forgotten about property revaluation. That is very much on our minds on a daily basis. A recommendation related to property revaluation will be an integral component of the manager's proposed budget. So, in summary, I would like to end with a few final thoughts. And I just want to say before I get into this, I've been looking at a lot of numbers here lately, and hadn't gotten out very much. So if this seems to go off the rails, I apologize in advance. But I start with this picture here because I do love this picture. I have this picture in my office on my wall, and it is the first thing that I look at when I start the workday. And clearly, as a pirate, it says a lot about who we are, this community is as pirates. Looking back and thinking about that time, this picture represents 50,000 members of Pirate Nation that came together one sole purpose that day, this day. And that sole purpose was to beat the tar out of the Tar Heels. And that's exactly what we did in big fashion back in September of 2014. But this picture not only says a lot about the Pirates, but it does say a lot about who we are as a community. So we come together, we lift each other up in both in the good times and the bad times. And with that being said, we do know that right now we are rallying around each other. And together we're trying to lift each other up to make sure that this does not beat us, because we will come out of this even stronger than before. So no matter what the numbers say, and it's hard to believe that I'm saying this as a numbers guy, but no matter what the numbers say, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. It is what it is. It is the cards we've been dealt. We just must deal with it, and we must move on. Before you know it, we'll be back at 5 points, and we'll be cheering on the Pirates at our Free Boot Fridays. And finally, to end on this, we have a job to do. Ann, Ken, and I, we talk about this all the time. We absolutely have the best employees in the world. We have over 700 individuals that have dedicated their life to serving this community. And no matter whether it's a hurricane, it's a computer virus, or a pandemic, our employees always pick each other up as a team. We see that on a daily basis. They have a positive attitude, and they always get the job done. And this is no different. We will get the job done no matter whether it's a hurricane or not, or whether it's a pandemic. We will do that for the citizens of our community. So with that being said, I will open up to you guys if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Cowan? No questions. I do want to make a comment. I do want to say thank you, Michael. Thank you to all the staff for how hard you worked. And it's not just so much how hard you worked over the last couple of weeks. It's how hard you worked for the last several months, last couple of years, because as dire and bad as this position is for us right now, if we weren't in the financial position that we are, we probably wouldn't be able to balance a $4.5 million potential loss in revenue. So I appreciate everything that you guys have done. Like you said, this is a difficult decision, but everybody's got to pick each other up, and we appreciate everything that you guys are doing to make sure that we're able to continue to offer essential services to our city, and be able to count the pennies to make sure that we can meet all of our debt obligations and do what we were expected to do by the citizens. No one has anything else? We'll move on to item number 8.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 8 is the adoption of the 2020 City of Greenville federal agenda that's been included in your agenda packets, Mayor. Jennifer Emu with the Ferguson Group came down to Greenville earlier this year, spent time with several of you as well as the department heads to put together this federal agenda. She, as we all know, Jennifer's help was instrumental for the city to achieve the build grant this past fall. And in subsequent conversations following the pandemic, we have, I've worked with Jennifer, and we've added a component of the federal agenda for her to continue to lobby in the federal government for assistance to help us recover from this pandemic.
All right. Anybody have any questions? Anybody would like to make a motion to adopt the federal agenda?
Move to approve the federal agenda. This is Councilmember Meyerhofer.
This is Councilmember Bell, second.
All right, motion's been made by Councilmember Meyerhofer, second by Councilmember Bell. All those in favor say aye, and all those opposed say nay when called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer?
Aye.
Yeah, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item number 9, Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 9 is a resolution providing for the sale and issuance of not to exceed $7.85 million of general obligation street and pedestrian bonds, Series 2020. And I'll turn it over to Finance Director Byron Hayes.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. This is the resolution allowing for the issuance of the second half of the street pedestrian GO bonds. These bonds were voter approved in November of 2015 for $15.85 million for various street pedestrian improvements within the city. And the amortization schedule on the right side of the screen here shows the breakdown of our principal and interest payments for the issuance. The schedule is subject to change as it is based on market conditions prior to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, so our existing general obligation and installment debt totals just over $33 million in principal and interest payments. And with the inclusion of the second half of these bonds, we will increase that total to $1 billion. And again, that is subject to change based on the preliminary information that we have right now. Once we get a new rate, that will be changing soon. And this is just a highlight of the remaining schedule for the issuance. We are planning the bond sale at the end of April and closing in the middle of May. And staff recommends approval of the resolution of the sale and issuance of the remaining portion of the street pedestrian bonds. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Hayes?
I do.
All right, Councilmember Smiley.
What's the estimate of interest rates on that? Did I miss it?
Sorry.
Okay. Going back here, I didn't actually include what we had presented at this point as an interest rate. I think we used 3.5% at this current when we put the information together here. Obviously, we do know that's going to go down. We don't have a complete idea of kind of what it's going to drop, but we do feel pretty confident that it is going to drop. Given our current credit rating and just the impact of the economy right now on rates. As of right now, it's probably a bit too early to give you an actual number. Just know that it will go down. So you will see the total payment for the bonds to go down.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Hayes?
Yeah, this is Will.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Yeah, hey, Byron, you may have mentioned this. When is the expected date that these would be issued?
So our goal is to be able to sell at the end of April. So April 28th is the sale. So we would be closing May 19th. So we should have cash in hand middle of May.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Mr. Hayes? All right. See none. Does anybody want to make a motion?
This is Councilmember Bell. Move to approve.
Councilmember Bell.
Okay. Is that Mayor Pro Tem Glover seconding the motion?
Yes.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Bell, second by Mayor Pro Tem Glover. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay when called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Councilman Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we will move on to the city manager's report. Madam Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 items for the council this evening. The first one is I'd like to recommend to the council that we cancel the April 20th joint city council GUC meeting.
All right. Anybody like to make a-
Councilman Smiley, so moved.
Councilmember Daniels, second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. When called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Councilman Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor Connolly, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you. Madam Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The second item, earlier today, I shared with the council a memo regarding the impact of the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, a new federal law that was signed into place on March the 18th of 2020. I wanted to bring to the council's attention 2 changes that we have made in the city and ask for you to ratify those changes. The first change is that employers with more than 500 employees and state and local governments must provide 80 hours of paid sick leave for COVID-related absences. The city, with that, the city has provided 1 year of accrued emergency sick leave to all employees, and we have expanded the use of that sick leave to allow employees to supplement some reduced work schedules during this COVID period. The second change that we had to make, and in response to this federal act, is that we must provide time-limited expansion of the family medical leave for qualifying reasons, which will include the care of a child if child care is not available. The Act allows us to exempt essential services such as fire, police, and we have taken that exemption. And so I, as city manager, have made these modifications in order to comply with federal and new federal law. And the city personnel policies give me the permission to make this change. And I would request that the council ratify this memorandum. I'll also let you know that we'll continue to monitor any additional federal legislation. If there are specific changes to the personnel policies that have to occur, we will bring those forward to you with a resolution.
All right. Anyone like to make a motion?
I will.
All right.
I move we ratify and approve the personnel actions made by the city manager in response to changes in federal regulations respective to COVID-19.
This is Councilmember Bell. I'll second that motion.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Bell. All those in favor say aye, and those opposed say nay when called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover,
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels,
Aye.
Councilmember Bell,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Councilman Smiley, aye.
Councilmember Litchfield,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Madam Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Also earlier today, I shared with the council a memorandum regarding some changes we must make to collection days for solid waste pickup. This is due to an existing imbalance in our routes, as well as significantly increased volumes that we're picking up daily. And because of that, our employees are having to work much longer on Tuesday. So what we are going to do over the next 2 weeks is we're going to shift some accounts or some customers that are currently being collected on Tuesday. We're going to shift them to Monday. We'll spend the next 2 weeks providing all the customers with information on this change via postcards to their houses. Specific information will drop off, as well as robocalls. We have talked to Councilmember Glover, because these changes are primarily in her district. And we just wanted to let you know and let the community know that might be viewing it, that those that live essentially south of Dickinson Avenue, along Dickinson Avenue, there's several neighborhoods. I'm sorry, my office light is going off here. I'm not moving. Well, we're going to have to deal with this. And so we're going to make those changes. And I had one final update, and I would just like to say, I think this really seconds what Michael had shared earlier, that that this past month has presented our city with challenges in the way we work and the way we live. That during this time, our city staff has risen to the challenge. They've ensured that COVID-19 would not end our ability to serve our community. And I just really want to take this opportunity to publicly thank our city staff for their continued commitment to the city of Greenville, to the residents of the city of Greenville for all the work, and thank them for all the work they have done. They have just been thank you very much. Michael's turning on my light. They've just been awesome, and I just really want to thank our city employees, and I hope you join me in thanking them as well.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to comments by the mayor and the city council. We'll start with Councilmember Bell.
I'd just like to thank all the people, health professionals, and first responders that are fighting on the front lines of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for everybody for listening to the regulations that have been put in place to try and improve the health situation for everybody. We're almost through this, hopefully, and everybody just keep praying. We're going to come out on the other side of this stronger, just like the assistant city manager and city manager said. Everybody stick together, and we'll get through this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll echo the city managers. I really appreciate all the work that the city staff has done, and I know there are so many people that we can't thank them all by name, but just the people that are coming out in our neighborhoods and picking up our trash, that are still out and doing the essential services that help keep the city afloat. I really appreciate all the work that they're doing. I am hopeful that everybody will continue to do their part. We're just a small piece of the puzzle when it comes to how we navigate through this COVID-19 pandemic, but continue to practice your social distancing. I have a 3-day weekend coming up, as many of you do, and I will be bunkered down with my wife and kid and dog, and hopefully as we continue to do that, we'll get through sooner rather than later. I will also like to say, just with this extra time that you might have, take the time to fill out your census. Teach your kids what the census is. Michael Cowan, Assistant City Manager, mentioned Michael Cowan mentioned some funding we may have, but we also have funding distributed back through the federal government with our census numbers. So please take the time to complete your census. Teach your kids about it, teach your family about it, and have a very, very happy Easter with your friends. Thank you very much. I'm all done. Thanks.
All right. Councilmember Smiley.
I would just encourage everybody to keep in mind that there are a lot of people out there that are hurting, and if you've been saving something for a rainy day, or you've been one day meaning to go out and to help somebody, or to contribute to somebody, or to make some sort of effort in the way of helping your community, then now's the time. This is the rainy day, so if you're not going to do it now, then you never have a better opportunity. So thank you very much.
All right. Councilmember Litchfield.
I would just like to echo some of the comments. Number one, thanking the city staff for all your hard work, and please pass on our appreciation to all the employees of the city. You guys are still working really, really hard, and it's so important, and everything you guys are doing is much appreciated. Additionally, all the healthcare workers out there on the front lines, day in and day out, going in and supporting our community. So just my sincere appreciation to all. Thank you.
Councilmember Daniels?
I want to thank Pastor O'Neill for joining us tonight and for praying with us. And I also want to echo everyone else and thanking the city manager's office for all that you guys do. We've seen you working hard day and night making this work, and what you do is truly appreciated, as well as the city employees and our citizens for making the sacrifices and staying inside. I also want to remind everybody that it's Child Abuse Awareness Month, that, to think of those children and pray for those children whose safe place was school. And that their mentors, that they may not have access to them now. And so keep them in your hearts and in your prayers. And again, complete your census. You can do it online. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
I'd like to thank the city manager and her staff for keeping this city together and functioning, and we're not having any blackouts or anything like that. I just want to thank the police department and the EMS who have been busy and don't have the opportunity to step back and say, I'm not getting involved, because that's their job. So they're putting their lives on the line to keep our lives better. And also thank the mayor for all he's done and the information that you've put out for the citizens to have. And it's rough, because I've been in the house now for about 4 weeks, and it's really hard, but everyone just keep it together, and this too shall pass, as always, and be safe.
All right. Thank you very much. That leaves me. I also want to echo all the comments that are made. I want to say thank you to the city staff. It's been incredible to see. That goes for everyone. I get lots of compliments as far as our public works employees that are out there picking up trash on a day-to-day basis, making sure that roads are still in great condition. The city staff that has made adjustments to be able to keep the city operating the way it is. I mean, we basically have had our lives turned upside down over the last several weeks, and it's amazing that we came out of our planning session. I don't think any one of us would have ever thought something like this was going to happen in our planning session. And to be able to make those quick adjustments like Michael had gone through earlier to show how we were going to have potentially a $4.5 million shortfall in our budget, but to be in a position where we can make that gap up and continue to be able to offer those essential services to the city is incredible. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to the citizens that have really worked hard on, getting us through this virus. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to ask everyone to stay home, but so many people in our community just did that. They made a personal sacrifice for everybody throughout our community and helped us be able to stop that spread, and we appreciate that. I know it's tough, but we'll continue to work together and get through this. On a different note, I also want to say I have a little girl that is going to turn 4 years old next Tuesday. And Caroline is going to be 4. I'm really, really excited for her birthday. It's going to be a little bit different this year because she's not going to have the opportunity to be able to have a birthday party. So we're going to continue to have a good time with her. I think we're working a little bit of a parade for her so she can have some friends drive by the house and wish her a happy birthday. But it's tough. You don't think about those things when we're talking about the virus and not being able to go out there. But little girls like Caroline aren't able to have their birthday. I know there's been several other children throughout our community that will always remember their birthday that fell during this pandemic. So happy birthday, Caroline. I also want to wish everyone a happy Easter. This is going to be a different Easter than traditional Easters. A lot of us will not be attending church on Easter Sunday. But, make an effort to get together with your family. There's many different streaming services that are available. Most churches are offering those these days. I post something on my Facebook every Sunday just so churches can go ahead and post their services up there, so you can choose whatever church you want to attend or watch that day. So I encourage you to spend some time with your family. Really, take this opportunity to get closer to your family members and to spend time with one another. And then I'm just going to urge everyone to stay safe. Continue to make good decisions. Don't go out in public if you don't have to. If it's an opportunity for you to stay at home and spend some time with your family, maybe get some exercise. I think it's incredible to look around our neighborhood. I've seen people out there that I've never seen before. Out there working out and exercising. It's great. It's good for you not only physically but also mentally. It allows you to clear your mind and get out of the house and think of something different for a change. So continue to stay safe and continue to help the citizens in Greenville. So with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
This is Councilmember Bell. Move to adjourn.
Councilmember Glover. Second.
I think Councilmember Bell made the motion. Second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye, and those opposed say nay when called on by the city clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer?
Aye.
Mayor Connolly, this approval 6-0.
All right. I appreciate it. Our meeting is now adjourned.
Good night, everybody.